All right, welcome back.
That's it. That's the game.
Yeah, but we got to cut it off, like 10 seconds? Is that the limit?
Yeah.
But how was your week, man? Or, well, first of all, welcome back to Pints and Politics.
That's right. Episode 39?
39.
39.
I don't know any 39s. We didn't look that up.
We'll come up with it, but
some DB somewhere.
I tell you, it's been sort of like Christmas in the sense of Election Day comes on a Tuesday. It sort of messes up your whole sort of circadian rhythm when it comes to because
staying up till 2 or 3.
Yeah. I don't care if you're a Trump fan or a Harris fan. Everybody's staying up trying to see who's going to win, and I definitely fell into that camp. I think I went to bed about 3:30. When they officially called it. And, hey, man, elections work.
Yes.
All of a sudden, there ain't no shenanigans going on. And Trump pulled it out.
I did see a stat. Well, first of all, before we even get into that, but let's thank our sponsor, Comer Distributing.
Yeah.
And today's pint
is a flavorful and easy drinking Founders all-day IPA.
All day, baby.
And it's
pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good warm weather beer.
I think I'm starting to like IPAs.
You're getting used to that hoppy finish.
Yeah.
And again, with the artwork.
Yeah.
If you're not watching at home on YouTube, it's got the wood grain. What is that? The
station
old
wagon
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or?
Well, I want a station wagon.
Oh yeah.
Like
I
thought,
the wood grain.
Yeah. I want like an old
pop-up
school
seat in the way back.
I would love to have what was it? The Dodge Magnum. That was like a fast engine, but it was a station wagon. They come out with for a while.
Yeah.
Like I always wanted one of them. And then they before
like
I could
the El
afford
Camino
one
for white people.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But
I think the El Camino is primarily white people. I pretty much think of like mullets whenever I see an El Camino.
No, I'm kidding. So yeah, man, it was just a wild week.
Yeah.
Tuesday. But before we get into the national elections, let's for the two listeners, if we want to get into some of the local races. Our last episode we had Everett Stubbs on, who was challenging incumbent Senator Mike Fanning out of District 17, and wow,
currently being counted.
They're counting provisionals right now.
Yeah.
I think election night, Stubbs had a 32 vote.
32
lead.
is what he won by.
And they are currently now, for the general public doesn't know this, but they are opening up provisionals all day today. I think it started at 9 or 10 a.m. And they started in, Chester County?
All the counties are
Fairfield
done.
counties,
Lancaster. Now it's just down to York.
It's down to our home county.
Which there's 90 provisionals
that
can be counted there within the district.
And Stubbs picked up, in all the other 3 counties, Stubbs picked up seven
additional
provisional vote lead. So he is now up to 39, and they are now opening the 90 provisionals here in York.
Yeah.
Over at the over there in York at the county building. So if we hear anything,
hopefully we'll get a call and we can announce it as we are recording.
Yeah.
Considering his campaign guys sitting here recording us, hopefully he'll know before anybody else.
But yeah, I mean, man, you want to talk about close. I think the total votes right now, according to SC votes, is like 27,936 for Stubbs and 27,897 for Fanning.
Which didn't Dion Tedder only win by 7 votes?
In the special or this go
I think it was the special election.
Yeah.
Yellow Jacket.
Yeah, but yeah, there. I mean, and for our listeners, besides just that Senate race, man, there were several races across the state that sort of provided some upsets.
Specifically, out of Florence, Jared Malloy.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone saw that one coming, and that was, which I learned last night, that AFP did a lot of door knocking.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Was it JD? That one? I can't remember the chaplain. Yeah.
Yep.
And that was not anything that was on my radar.
No.
By any means.
No.
So.
And I know he I know that race was going to be close, and I had heard that from folks on the Democratic side that, there was some concern, but to see a incumbent like Malloy and like Fanning for that matter, to lose, and I think J.D. Chaplin won by, I think it was like 278 votes. So his margin was a little bigger than Stubbs versus Fanning, but still, I think they're doing the provisionals as well because it falls within that 1%. So, but I haven't heard anything over there not being from around that area. Another one was it Fernandez down in
Tom Fernandez ended up winning.
Vernon Stevens.
So Freedom Caucus, welcome to the Senate.
Oh, yeah?
I would say. I know him and Jordan are very good friends.
Oh, okay.
I've supported Tom in the past. I know some people view him as extreme. I just viewed him as the guy that wasn't going to take any crap.
Yeah. Was he the one with the gas mask during the primary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was him.
Yeah, and sometimes
don't act like you didn't wear a gas mask once or twice in college days.
No, I didn't. I was.
Oh, be careful, Ben.
Yeah, for the two listeners, my son Ben wanted to come out and say hello. He just got back from school, just enjoyed his snack out here in this 80-degree sunshine.
I know.
But,
man, November, 80 degrees.
And another one was that flipped was Jeff Zell beat Kevin Johnson out of Senate District 36, which is down around Clarendon.
Around Fawns District.
Yep. And which is a rural district, but it is historically been a Democratic seat.
Yep.
And the Republicans flipped that seat as well. So,
Fawn flipped it from Kevin's daughter, wasn't it?
Yes.
That was the House member.
So Senator Johnson's daughter was also the House rep.
Yeah.
So
and Fawn Petalino won that
over
one.
there, and
Jeff Zell, I've known for a few years now. He was a school board member down there.
Okay.
And he's one that even whenever I was running my first election, we kind of followed each other and shared a lot of the same views. So I'm glad to see
folks,
him in there.
For the listeners out there, you can tell who is the politico, the partisan, the swamp right here, Brandon Guffey. He knows everybody.
No, I know Jeff from the political events and things as well.
No, I'm kidding. I don't know half these people, man. But so that's 3 Democratic seats, incumbents, that got beat on election night.
Yeah.
And if it holds true through provisional counting, so that takes the Republican count up to 34.
Did we have any House incumbents lose?
There was
that wasn't in the primary.
There was no House incumbent Republicans that lost.
Joe Jefferson.
Republicans.
Yeah, Republicans that lost.
Yeah.
But Joe Jefferson lost. That was a.
Yep, Joe Jefferson was our suite mate.
Yeah.
Good gentleman out of Berkeley County.
Who's getting the window seat? I'm just kidding.
And man, he's been there a while too.
Yeah.
I think he was a subcommittee chair over on LCI. He got beat by Harriet Hallman, who we've met before. Very nice lady. So look forward to getting to work with her next term. But yeah, so now, the big news is both the House and the Senate has
supermajority.
Republican supermajorities. So, I was reading an article in the State by Joe Bustos, who I think had been commenting on, because the House had a supermajority during our first term.
Mm-hmm.
The Senate did not. And the question in that article that the article raised was, what is, now that the General Assembly has a Republican supermajority, what are we going to do with it? So
tax reform.
They asked Massey, tort reform, energy, and when you know it, abortion was brought up. Now, we just passed a heartbeat bill.
Yeah.
I don't know what more you can do. I think one thing that they talked about was a conception with exceptions bill. So we'll see how.
I know that'll be the push, but I don't see that. I don't see that passing.
Yeah, and again, when you talk about something from conception and not heartbeat, you start getting. I think politically, you start getting in the weeds of what happens with IVF? What happens with the folks who cannot traditionally get pregnant? And
Now, I could certainly see banning these mail-in abortion pills.
well, and
Again,
again,
something of that nature.
So my point being, we probably have some higher priorities that since we've passed the heartbeat bill in the last term, we probably want to turn our focus to energy policy, tort reform, like what you said, tax reform. You and I have talked about this on the last episode. We'll talk about it again this episode. We don't want to have state income tax.
Right. And actually, we heard last night I went to a York County Conservative Club meeting. Tommy Pope spoke there, and that's one of the things that he brought up was talking about tax reform.
Yeah.
He said the last time that they passed tax reform, he joked around that Gary Semerald was. Oh, I don't know what that was.
Wow, that's you had the View queued up.
It was not the View.
That's all my favorites.
I was trying to find the
Folks, for
true election numbers.
When the cameras go off, Guppy's a big Whoopi fan.
Yeah, did you see the meme comparing her to the slug or whatever it is off Star Wars?
No.
Oh, it's horrible.
I have seen the Star Wars memes of 2016 was, A New Hope.
Yeah.
And then 2020 was Return Empire Strikes Back. And then 2024 was A New Hope or whatever, the Return of the Jedi one. So that was kind of funny.
I was trying to find the numbers, and that's the reason I had stuff queued up on my phone between total voters, because it's amazing. It's like there's 7 million votes. Like the Republican numbers really hadn't changed over the past couple years other than standard population.
Yeah.
But the Democrats last year had like 7 million just kind of come out of nowhere, or in 2020.
They came by mail.
But, I mean, but people could mail in this
Seriously, it
time,
was
too.
COVID. They came by mail.
Yeah, but people could mail in this time, too.
Yeah, but not at the. I don't think they had the unfettered access. Some states pulled stuff back, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in 2020 it was sort of free for all. Folks were making it up on the fly. We were trying to not restrict folks' constitutional rights to vote,
Right.
and also take into consideration.
And some
COVID.
states were making it way too easy.
Right, that's right.
To where it couldn't be checked.
Yep.
I guess is the big thing.
And I know what you're talking about. Actually, Joe Rogan and his guest yesterday brought it up, and it's right here.
I hadn't heard it on Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
but I did see the number.
It's this graph.
Yeah.
So, and again, this graph is just a simple bar graph. Blue bar is Democrats, red bar is Republican votes. And in 2012, 65 million folks voted for the Democrat. In 2016, about 66 million voted for the Democrat. And then in 2020, 82 million at least.
Right.
And then back in, this
2024.
This past Tuesday, again, it looked like now this is presidential. It looked like what?
16 million.
66, 67?
It's about on par
Right
with the previous two.
In 2012, 2016, and 2024, about 66, 67 million voted for the Democratic candidate for president.
Yeah.
In 2020, 82.5 million voted. So the question was, where'd all those voters go?
Yeah.
Right.
But even if you look at the red, even the red bar's gone up each year, except for the 2020.
The Democratic Party wants to know.
Yeah.
They were looking for those voters this past Tuesday, and they didn't show up.
They just no longer identify as voters. I think that's what it is. Identity crisis.
But back to the state. The state elections, we'll find out on those Senate races, the Malloy, Chaplin, and the Fanning Stubbs races. Let's look at the postmortem on a federal level. If you
Senate.
If you want to get into that,
I seen even one of the Pennsylvania senators went Republican.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Casey lost.
Yeah.
To McCormick, which I didn't see that happening. I do think Baldwin out of Wisconsin, she was the Democratic incumbent. She did win barely.
And I think Hoodie Guy will become Republican with some of the things that
Fetterman.
he says. Yeah.
But, just looking at the big picture on a national level, I find it hilarious that the Democratic Party and all of the factions underneath that sort of tent are pointing fingers, trying to search for how did we lose? How did we lose? Whose fault is it? Who's to blame,
Yeah.
right? And I don't know, man. I try to keep it very, very simple. Bad ideas, bad candidate, bad outcomes.
Well, I mean, you didn't really promote your candidate.
I mean,
You ran purely on opponents bad. So you weren't really saying that, Harris was a great candidate. You
Yeah.
weren't really defending Biden's policies and saying these policies are great because they were undefendable. And you were basically just saying, Trump bad.
Trump, Hitler.
But if you compare and just take the simple approach, whenever you say that he's bad, were you living better 4 years ago or now?
That was, I think, the hurdle that was just too high for them to get over.
And Harris was kind of stuck with whatever Biden's policies were. Now, I think her policies would have been worse.
Yes.
But
that's just it. That hurdle of trying to say that Trump is going to be a terrible president, that argument may have held a little more water in 2016, right? When Clinton was saying it, people didn't know, right? Because he had never been president before. But you had his first term
right.
to compare it against the claim, and I was like, wait a minute. We
weren't in any wars.
Yeah, he didn't drop a nuke anywhere.
Yeah.
The economy was fantastic.
The rest of the world was scared.
And so I thought the fear tactics were going to work in some of the border states, didn't you? I was a little surprised.
I still can't believe Nevada went red.
That he swept.
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
And Arizona, Kari Lake got her tail kicked, but yet.
Yeah.
Well, now she's claiming, I think she's counting for another recount, which every race she does.
Again, if it's within the margin of error, that's one thing. But or whatever the state constitution dictates, I think they should follow the law. I think this separates, the legitimate versus just sour grapes.
Yeah, but in Las Vegas, you can do the same day register, or you can register the same day and vote the same day. Or in Nevada, you can. So I thought for sure that would make a difference on the Democratic ticket.
So battleground states, Georgia, Trump took it. North Carolina, Trump took it.
My map only showed the difference maker being North Carolina because I was given Pennsylvania.
So a couple episodes ago, I was actually surprised that you were saying that Trump was going to lose North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, the three biggest cities are Democratic cities. Four biggest cities.
Yeah, but still
are Democratic cities.
Suburbs.
Yeah, but
again, it's that moderate voter that live in the suburbs.
Did the Republicans wipe out Asheville so they could win with the hurricane? Is that what it was?
Yeah. So Georgia Trump, North Carolina Trump. On my map, I actually had Virginia going Trump, barely.
Yeah, I didn't have Virginia going Trump.
Man, looking at the early, and again, this is on that 270 to win.
They still go Republican governor.
Yeah.
But they go Democrat across the board because that population is too close to D.C. up there.
Those three counties, Loudoun, Prince William, and I can't remember the other one, but I don't think that's Henrico. But anyway, so Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania goes. Michigan. I had Michigan going her too.
Yeah, I had Michigan going her.
But
I did think the Muslims were going to make a difference, and you laughed at me whenever I said that. But, I mean, it did. I think he even made the comment that there was 100,000 Muslims that would be voting for Trump.
Speaking of the religious vote, what about the Amish in Pennsylvania? Huh?
Oh, I didn't. Did they vote?
They did this time.
Are they electronic machines? Were they able to?
Hey, horse and buggy, man.
I know, but
American
are they
flags.
allowed to use the electronic machines?
No, and they don't have voter IDs, right? They don't allow pictures being taken. Hey,
how did they vote?
What works for the goose works for the gander.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah, you didn't hear that? We'll sidebar that for next episode. That was interesting, man. That was very interesting.
I'm more shocked that he's still driving a Ford Escort. I think the things are still around.
His friends did a GoFundMe, remember? And I think he got a new car. Or at least a new set of tires out of the deal. Because he was crisscrossing the state.
I mean, an Escort lasting this long, you better hold on to that. That's a unicorn.
Was that the guy with the long hair? Yeah. So Michigan goes, Wisconsin goes, and then Arizona goes, and Nevada. So, and not only does he win 300-plus electoral votes, he wins the popular vote. You know?
Yeah. Well, and that was his goal.
And at some point,
For his ego, that's what he needed.
I think,
for sure.
I think Republicans or conservatives in general needed that to get that mandate to say, hey, the people have spoken, right? The people are behind the message that Trump, at least the policies that Trump was selling, right? Because he hasn't done anything yet. But what he was selling, lower taxes, cut the national debt, stop the spending, secure our border, keep us out of foreign wars. There were some other things like end the lawfare and all that kind of stuff. But, it's yet to be determined. But I definitely think that as a conservative, I just find I'm always, if you make a mistake, you better learn from it, right? And so that would be my message to
You're very disappointed in me, aren't you?
No. I'm just saying, as Democrats, look in the mirror.
Yeah.
And there are some Democrats who
I felt like my mama was talking to me
who
just
are
now.
in purple districts who have been trying to say it, and now I think those voices get louder, right? I think the Democratic Party has to assess and say, hey, listen, how did we lose the working man? How did we lose the working woman's
Now,
vote?
the one thing that they did increase on was women.
Yeah.
They increased their number of women voters, but at the same time, how many people of color did you see breaking down crying on video, and how many women did you see breaking down crying on video because they thought that their civil rights are going to end, period. I mean, there's people literally thinking that
I know
a bunch of slaves are going to be, or slavery is going to be reenacted because this is the narrative that's being spread. Now, at the same time, if you go on Truth Social, I don't know if you get on there or not.
No.
Good Lord. I'm talking, I was scrolling for a
Just
while.
savage? Is that what you're saying?
No, just the misinformation or just wrong. Like, there's pictures of Kamala Harris sitting naked, like, in an office or something, and they're like, oh, this was found. There's pictures of every celebrity, like, with Diddy and, Obama sitting in the corner. Like, it's all of this made-up crap on there. Like, the only thing that you're getting real is, like, from Trump's people or, legit names.
Correct.
But
at some point,
but both sides are getting so scared that it becomes life or death.
At some point, folks, and I'm just speaking.
And that's the reason they're trying to kill him.
Yeah, just speaking to parents, right? Raising, you want to change the world, raise your kids right. You know what I mean? In the sense of have them live in the real world, not the digital one or the virtual one.
Yeah.
Limit the time on social media. I would not, like I said, my daughter is going to be 16.
Australia's banning it for anyone under 16.
Good. They should.
Yeah.
The data.
We just
proves it
can't
out.
we just can't in the United States because of Section 230.
Well, and they have a very powerful lobby.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's what I was just getting text
more.
from was an attorney that's battling. I mean, I sent that letter out to Rand Paul.
Yeah,
and,
about KOSA and all that. Yeah. So again, I mean, I think I am cautiously optimistic that Trump knows he has 4 years and he's done, and realistically he has 2 years.
Well, in 1 year we'll be talking about who the next president's going to be.
Well, I'm just thinking because of midterms, right?
Yeah.
So anything that Trump wants to do with the majority that they now have in the Senate, which looks to be 53-54, which the majority they have in the House, and again, here's another thing too. Managing success is more difficult than you think. And we're going to find that out in Columbia this next term, right? Because
you don't have an excuse.
Because we have a supermajority in the House, we have a supermajority in our state Senate, and we have, guess what, a Republican governor. So what's going on our state government level is going on for Trump at the national level.
Yeah.
If he wants to appoint a judge, he's got the votes. You know what I mean? Unless Republicans break ranks or whatever. And so the challenge is manage success well. Don't get belligerent. Don't get drunk on the power.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do what's right. Listen to
what
all.
got you there.
And right. And listen to the people that got you there.
Yeah.
And just make best decisions for all Americans. You know what I mean? Because what happens is
lead for the next generation, not for your next election.
Yeah. What happens is, and you can, I mean, as old as time, but if you look at just our last recent memory of presidents since 2000, you got George Bush, then you get Barack Obama, then you
That
get
pendulum
Trump.
swings
Yeah,
harder and
that's
harder
right,
each
that's
time.
Right. And so I think,
And Biden came in saying that he literally wanted to be the most liberal president ever.
well, he sold himself as a
Jimmy Carter's
transitional-
definitely thankful for Biden because he's no longer considered the worst president ever.
Well, and so
That's just my opinion, but
I think
I'm always right until you can prove I'm wrong.
Hey, are you sure you're not in the Senate? Spoken like a true senator.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Did you see who Trump's already?
Transition team?
He's already appointed his chief of staff.
Yeah.
I'm not even familiar with the lady, but she was his campaign co-chair, the first woman chief of staff in the history of the United States government. Wow, the misogynist Hitler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And he didn't do it because he wanted to win brownie points because he has nothing to win.
No,
he
not
did
at
it
all.
because he thought she's the most qualified.
100%.
And that's the way it should be.
And so just, I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. We'll see how Trump's election impacts our state, because I don't know. Does Tim Scott take a position in the cabinet? Does Senator Lindsey Graham? I mean, does he tap somebody? Hell, what about even Russell Fry?
I mean, I threw my name in the hat today for tech policy.
Yeah.
And no, I did reach out to the campaign today to ask the position on tech policy because you have, Elon Musk, and Trump has previously said he wanted to repeal Section 230. I'm sure Musk is not in favor of that. But I want to know what.
Well, maybe not repeal, but some
approach
sort
is.
of reform.
Yeah, but if he
know what
could
I mean?
just simply come out, because we still can pass the Kids Online Safety Act in Congress during this lame duck session
Yeah.
as they come back next week.
Right.
And that's my fear is we're trying to get Scalise and Johnson to go ahead and put it up. And if not, and if you don't think it's perfect, put what you want as a proviso within the budget
Yeah.
because it's going to get passed and make it 1 year while you correct the bill.
Right. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Are they going to come back for a lame duck?
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm going to be in D.C. in 2 weeks for the Liberty Project Tech Summit.
Okay.
So I'll be down there for 3 or 4 days, and then I've got to go back again first week of December sometime around then as well. So they will be there because I was trying to meet with Jeff Duncan. He's like, man, I ain't even gonna have an office. Like they're like you come back, they're already shipping everything out.
Yeah, good deal. Well, up in the next segments, we're going to be talking about sort of our schedules, what we have upcoming. We want to give the listener,
Talking about Clemson giving hopes to the Gamecocks.
well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about football as well, but also want to give the listeners insight in what is going on with us as we both just got reelected. What's to come before we get back in?
I mean, I'm still a redshirt freshman. I found that out today.
In January. So coming back in the next segments, that's what we'll be talking about. All right. So one thing I want to talk about is, a lot of folks pay attention to politics during election cycles. And then when election day comes around, votes are counted, and then, interest sort of wanes.
Yeah.
Right? And so I just wanted to give the two listeners just a picture of what we're dealing with over the next, 45, 60 days before we go into session, right?
Which within the next 30 days, we need to have T-shirts up.
Yeah, at least.
I'm number 2.
So starting next week, we already have a Republican caucus meeting. So what that is next week, a lot of the newly elected folks get sworn in. I know we get sworn in before our first delegation meeting on Tuesday, November the 26th. And that's at 9 a.m. over in York.
How'd you know that?
If folks want to attend. But
You said the 26th. I need to add that into my.
yeah,
I did not know that.
yeah. That was that group
Okay.
text that we were all in.
Oh,
That was
okay.
the delegation.
I got group text muted.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why.
Okay, gotcha. So, but we do have, the House Republican Caucus does have a sort of an organizational meeting. And that's just a time where we get to welcome in the newly elected Republican members. And then we sort of talk about our priorities, sort of set forth an agenda and what we want to talk about. And so I know, just because you and I have been, we are now not, we're no longer freshmen, right? So this has been a discussion ever since we got out, back in June.
Yeah.
About, if elected, what our priority is going to be. And so we've been talking to leadership and our whips and stuff, and I think they've compiled sort of this complaint box of, things we didn't get to, and sort of made some priorities. And so it does seem like that tax reform is high on the list.
Yes.
Which I know, that's music to our ears, as first
At least
timers.
we might not get, and the way it was explained last night is, if you look at it on paper, we might be at that, say, 6% level, but once you take in all the credits, if you're doing your taxes right.
The effective tax rate.
Right. And
We're really, 3.7 or 4.
we're really right around 4. We would like to make that 4 across the board.
Yeah.
So get rid of all the tax credits and everything else. That way everyone's just paying 4, which would help our small businesses, which would help, in some of these philos and things of that nature.
If you want to go hear the entire segment, we had Senator Bennett on when we went down to Holy City Brewing here a few episodes ago, and he talked about sort of his idea for tax reform. I liked what I heard, but he did bring up some good points. Over the years, we had the General Assembly, Senate and House, and this is prior to you and I getting there, there have been selective carve-outs, right, for certain industry that we were trying to attract. Maybe it's for veterans, maybe it's for married folks, or whatever it is, right? Child tax credit on the federal level. And so as you do those carve-outs, you create partisans or allies
Right.
that don't want to let those go.
Right.
And so when you go to a uniform fair tax system or a flat tax, those carve-outs will dissolve or go, or at least time out.
Well, they're still getting the same tax rate. They're just in their fields.
So it's going to be just an interesting debate, right? Because we want to cut taxes.
Well, our speaker used to be the chair of Ways and Means.
Yeah.
So if anyone's equipped to kind of lead that discussion,
He can speak on it,
sure. Between him and Bannister, I'm sure that, and Tommy used to be over there too. I mean, so I think that if we're going to do tax reform, now is the time that we have, and that would show true fiscal responsibility from the Republican Party.
Yep.
To get that done. Also, the other thing would be judicial, as far as the magistrates, which we couldn't add in last time.
Yep. So we are getting live reporting, accepted 48 provisionals out of the 136 in York County, counting the final 48 provisional votes.
But he doesn't say what the number is, waiting on the...
Nope. It basically looks like 48 out of the 136 are...
Good.
Yeah, they've double-checked.
They heard back from the DMV.
The address, the DMV. Yeah, that's right. So they have cross-checked, and 48 out of the 136 provisionals that are in Senate District 17 are being opened right now. So we should know here.
But that means that Fanning, if it was only 48 and they hadn't been counting...
He's got to get 95%.
Yeah.
90% of the vote.
So that sounds like we're going to have Stubbs as our new senator.
Could be, yep, Senator-elect Stubbs. So, talking about what our priorities are in the state for the House and maybe also for the Senate, I think it goes back to what we talked about on a federal level. We think Trump won because he sold the people on what he would do, right?
Yeah.
What he would deliver upon. And I think that on a state level, we can do the same thing. We may not get, you and I both, we're 2 out of 124 in the House. We want to eliminate the personal income tax, right? Just get rid of it.
Well, I believe there's going to be more politics because, of course, Freedom Caucus is going to come out with their agenda this week.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, so they're going to come out with their agenda this week or the beginning of next week, but before we do our Republican caucus.
When it comes to the Freedom Caucus.
Yeah. I'm on the email list, evidently. But once they come out with it, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of cohesiveness within it, and I'm sure they'll just want to claim victory on it. But
Okay.
we'll see how things go. Hopefully we can all get in the same boat and row the same direction.
I cannot see tax reform not being in every conservative's
Right.
priority list, right? If they want to...
See, I want to repeal 388. And I know that we don't have enough votes to do that.
Well, I mean, again, I want it 80 degrees and sunny every day.
Yeah.
That's not the reality that we live in. So
Yeah.
all I'm saying is, but again, the effective personal income tax rate is 6.4. It's got to be lower. You and I want it to be 0. Some folks want it to be, I don't know, a graduated progressive cut over, say, the next 6 years. So let's see where we can land. But I would like to see that we figure out a way to cut out the personal. I mean, there's a lot of folks struggling, and I know 50, 100, 250 bucks makes a difference.
Well, I mean, that's my problem with 388. I mean, whenever you're getting a, $2,000 car tax bill.
Oh, yeah. And 'tis the season.
And it keeps going up. I mean, whether it's your recreational vehicles, whether it's your camper,
Yeah.
Whatever it is, those numbers are so high.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that is if you come in as a conservative and say, I want to repeal 388, the argument's going to be, well, they just want to raise everyone's property tax on their homes. And I think if everyone's property tax raised slightly, but lowered all of the your secondary property, such as your cars and boats and RVs and all that other stuff,
Yep.
it would lower significantly. Overall, it's a tax cut.
Yep.
And then our schools get funded properly.
So, yeah, totally agree. So tax reform's high on the priority list. Another one that we've talked about is trying to make our state as business friendly as possible. So we want to cut down on either it's outdated or just costly regulations that cost businesses money.
Right.
You and I sit on regs. We see a lot of that. Some of the stuff we've never even heard of, right? Because we're...
Most of it within DNR.
Yep.
1 3-letter agency that I'm just like, what do we pay them
Yep.
for?
So that regulatory burden we want to take a look at and see where we can make reasonable cuts to help small business. That leads into an ongoing discussion that we've had, liquor liability insurance for our restaurants and bars. I think, and again, now that Senator Massey, who is the majority leader over there in the Senate, now that he has the 34, 35 senators that are a supermajority, but now that the makeup of the Senate, the body of the Senate has changed, I think we can see their energy bill. And I definitely think tort reform now. I definitely see that's something that we can anticipate.
We might have to take a break. Is there?
Yeah, so a couple of other of the priorities that we've talked about during the off season since we adjourned our, I guess, freshman term. I think we talked about the business-friendly stuff. I see some legislation being introduced to talk about how we can improve our infrastructure investments. It just seems like if you have trouble with a road or bridge, it takes 10 years to 15 years to find a solution. And it shouldn't take that long.
Hearing Gary Brewer talk about the process.
Oh, yeah.
And the federal regulations.
And anyone...
God forbid there be some spotted turtle or something.
Yeah, that's right.
In the area.
And I can speak from experience, being the only person who has a construction background.
You hear that, Gary?
We understand that these regulations cut down on the opportunity for small businesses and even large businesses to come operate in the state. So, and we can ask the consultants like Gary to advise us contractors and big construction firms how we can better improve that process.
Let me ask you,
like as far as the design build.
Yeah.
Bring in value engineering from the design, from the inception of a project to help advise engineers. Because engineers are very smart people, but they're going by guidelines that we've set forth in regs and legislation and how we do a bid process, say, for instance, a DOT. I think what Gary has been working on is trying to get contractors like myself or heavy highway folks in early with the engineers to say, hey, why are you making this thing a flyover exit ramp when we could achieve it by something that costs $25 million less, right?
Yeah.
So instead of going down a road of getting 50, 60, 90% drawings, let's go ahead and make the changes at 20, 30%, right? So you don't go so far down the wrong path before you got to, and going down that wrong path, especially from a DOT perspective, is years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Well, whenever you talk about the contract portion and the way that works, something that bugged me whenever, I had my businesses and I was bidding on projects is my wife being a Hispanic female. I could have
is she Hispanic?
Yeah.
Okay.
But as far as being able to bid on things, I could have gotten state contracts if I would just put the business in my wife's name.
Yeah.
And I always felt that was wrong to begin with. And as I, got elected on county council, and I would have people come to me and say, oh, you just got to set up this business and put it in your wife's name. And I'm like, no.
Woman-owned or
Yeah,
minority.
woman-owned or minority-owned.
Yep.
And I can't tell you how many would tell me, oh, yeah, well, if we've got to have this percentage, then we just go ahead and up the bid by 20% to begin with, just because we don't know if we can get the people in there. And sometimes we have to hire, if we can't cover it in, say, the big project, we have to cover it in little things like light rental or someone holding signs.
And a lot of times that's on a federal project where they have a federal guideline of they have a certain percentage, whether it's
so
10,
it's not that way in the state level?
10, 20%. No. I'm not saying that does not occur as well, but I'm familiar with it on, say, when you're bidding, say, military contracts or federal highways, interstates, interchange, and stuff like that. No, there's also state level, and there's also private projects where they try to motivate their small businesses who are minority owned or women owned or, you name it, to get involved in the project, right? But a lot of times small businesses won't go after, say, a $10, $20, $30 million project because you have to bond these types of projects. So a lot of times what happens is you'll take a GC who has the financial wherewithal to bond a $30 million project, and you encourage that GC to look at subs that are, say, for instance, if your wife owned a silt fence business, right, to give them a look at some of these types of projects. So,
but isn't that racist to begin with, or sexist? Like, any way that you put it, the point is I feel whenever I was trying to bid on things, I'm being discriminated against just because I'm white male as a small business owner.
That's one way to look at it. Yeah.
And I understand the point of incentivizing it.
Yeah.
And as far as it being private, I don't even agree with it on a private level.
Oh, I definitely
because I believe that it's racist or sexist to do something like that.
I think...
just look at our school. So Rock Hill School District, which my kids are part of Rock Hill School District.
Mine
I believe yours are too.
Yep.
So, while let's just say our population may be a 60-40 compared to white versus minorities, our population of school children is above 50% minority.
In public schools.
In public schools within Rock Hill.
Yeah.
At what point, if someone was to sit there and say, oh, well, you're listed as white, so you're the minority, we're going to give you, more access to this, then that would be a major issue.
Yeah. So in an ideal situation, you want this state in this country, it believes in a meritocracy, right?
Yeah.
You and I both do. And I think all folks do. I think the issue
I would be for it to be for small businesses, like a percentage of small businesses, because you're trying to increase small business.
Another thing that we could talk about when we talk about how we encourage minority-owned or women-owned businesses to participate in these projects, larger projects, are local projects. In some circumstances, there are contracts that are let that say incentivize you to use local subcontractors.
Right, and I'm for that.
Right?
I tried to push that on the county.
And okay, so you're for geographic motivations and discrimination.
Well, because the tax revenue stays within the county.
Right. So and again, I'm not saying for or against. I guess that would just bring the natural question of...
But it has nothing to do with something that you're born with.
Right.
That you can't control.
That you don't, right.
Which is what inherently makes it racist or sexist.
Yeah. So
just because you're born, and what if I identify as a minority female now?
I guess the question is,
at
what level
are they going to discriminate against me? Maybe that's
level-
the question. I just need to start a business and identify.
What identifies you as, to what class, what geographic area,
Yeah.
what sex do you have to be for the person the owner of the project to incentivize you to participate, right?
But at what
and
point
so you're
do we-
saying that if you live, say, in York County,
Yeah.
let's incentivize someone who's local, right? And now again, just so we're clear, if you go to build a school and someone bids it for $40 million, but the low bid is $35 million, you're okay with
No, because
giving
it's
the $40 million?
No, it's a 10% max.
Okay, so-
but if it was 36 million,
Right. You're okay. And again, we can get
fiscally, I think it should go to the lowest responsible
meritocracy.
bidder. But I do believe that if you've got a company that builds schools in York County,
you see some value.
yeah, I see the value because that
Yep.
tax revenue is coming right back. So that $4 million that we're cutting off, that we might be paying more for,
Yep.
we're really probably going to gain back in tax revenue.
And in fairness to that scenario, what that does is, again, someone bids 36 from out of town, the in-town contractor bids 40, or within that 10% threshold or tolerance. What that allows that local contractor to do is go back and get the last look, right? So they go back and look at their bid and get it. Basically, the offer is...
I don't believe in that. I believe in the single bid,
the
and if it's
offer
within
is,
10%.
Can you get
That's what Rock Hill does,
can
not
you
what
get your
York County.
number
Yeah.
to the lowest number, so taxpayers still get the best bang for their buck, but you're also rewarding the local, right?
Yeah.
So it's not, they're trying to get the best of both there.
Yeah, but I feel that's unfair because if you can get it that low, you should have bid it that low to begin with.
And at the end of the day, life ain't fair,
Yeah.
right? So
But at least in that scenario, someone could move here. So if a business really thinks, okay, York County's growing, let me open up an office in York County.
Yep.
So that tax revenue can stay in York County.
Yep. And then you also hire local
Right.
people. Yeah, I did it.
And that tax revenue
I did it in Pennsylvania.
increases.
I did it in Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohio statewide has a big local incentive. So when I'm bidding projects in Ohio, there's a question on the bid. 40% of your labor force has to come local from the state.
Now, I like that.
Now they make it from the state, not from, say, a certain county, but they say the state. So we got way off.
Yeah,
But-
I'm sorry. Just a
But
question.
no.
brought
But
up.
it's an interesting subject.
I think it's
to
worth
talk
the
about.
discussion, and I know it might, to some, they might see that as me coming off as racist or insensitive or anything
You're
else.
anti-woman.
But the way that I see it, and woman-owned
I don't
is,
take it that way at all. I
Yeah.
think you're asking questions on things
Yeah.
that you're, say, not familiar, and I'm asking the same thing.
Well, I mean, like whenever I went to
what's the-
college.
what's the benefit, right?
Yeah. Whenever I went to college, I was literally told that if I was anything other than a white male, I could apply for these scholarships.
Yep.
And I
Well,
mean, that was in the 90s, but still, I couldn't get financial aid because my biological father wouldn't put his name on the application. And at that time, they wanted that.
well, and you wouldn't check that you're Hispanic. You know?
I checked every box.
Hey, man, I wouldn't either.
I still check every box if they ask
and
Grace.
so and we're talking about education.
Yeah.
That's a good segue. Another thing that got brought up, especially after the Supreme Court decision on the school choice, setting up the trust fund, is how do we go back and give access to good schools to folks who are, say, don't have the means. If their kids are in a failing school, they can't take them out and send them to a private school. So universal school choice, I'm sure it's going to come up again. So
I just get sick of the argument that we're killing public schools with doing so because so many states, we already see the example. So why do we feel that we're killing public schools whenever we're offering school choice? Now, I'm not a big fan of the way we offer school choice, considering some of the schools that I've seen on the list.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I think there needs to be tighter reins on that.
Well, I think it comes down to where, in the debate of how best to educate your kids, where do you start that conversation? In the sense of, a lot of times I've found that when I talk to teachers or just folks who are, say, in the education profession, they start from a position of they have exclusive right to your tax dollar. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's wrong.
Well, it's a little skewed in the sense of that's what they know,
Yeah.
right? And that's what you and I were born and raised in, right? You pay property taxes, guess where it's going? The majority of your property tax bill on your home
Not your home, your cars.
Yeah, goes to
Yeah.
Public schools. Even if you choose to put Callie in a private school,
Right.
it's still going to the school you're zoned for, right? And so I think reimagining how we can best educate our children is the best place to start.
But we can't take it so far to where, let's just say in the 20s, some guy decides, oh, my kid's best educated by working on the farm all day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's got to be a standard across the board.
I think the foolishness of trying to say that you're bad and I'm better than you or I'm smarter than you because I believe in the traditional models of education, especially when it comes to public schools. And you're asking questions about, hey, what about this for my kid? Hey, what about this unique opportunity for my kid? I think sitting down like you and I are doing and having these discussions without these assumptions of one another is the best place to start.
Yeah.
Like we have got to start asking what's the best thing to educate our kids, all of our kids, not
what's best for me or my interests.
Correct. And that's with all things. And so I look forward to having that discussion again. I'm sure House Education Chair Lady Shannon Erickson is ready to go.
She's ready.
That one. So, and last but not least, I'm looking forward to, being on 3M and in the medical subcommittee, just empowering, looking at our healthcare. Healthcare has been, ever since, as long as I can remember, it's just, the costs have gone through the roof. It hasn't been helped with Obamacare, which some folks thought it would. And I'm looking to see how we can empower doctors and patients to get better health outcomes in our state. So whether it's pricing transparency, whether it's, having doctors be free of non-competes so they can go and work wherever they choose, like you and I have those freedoms to do. Is something that I'm sure we'll have conversations about when we get back in session in January.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to
what about you?
an
You got some
itemized
personals?
bill.
Trying.
I filed my first bill today, pre-filed my first bill, but I'm going to wait until we get pre-files and we'll have an episode on that. I don't think I really need to go into all those details.
All right, cool. All right. Last segment?
Your last segment, but we got
breaking news.
Some breaking news. Just got a text on the recount that Everett Stubbs won by 29 votes.
Wow.
After all the provisionals. So it was originally 32, so it changed net -3.
Yeah.
So that is awesome. So we will be welcoming Senator Everett Stubbs. I am also being told that there will be a recount, but we will see.
Right.
With it being so close.
But something's got to be fundamentally flawed in the counting for that number to really slide.
Yeah, I mean, whenever it's electronically counted, I don't see how that.
Yeah.
If there is a mistake there, then that tells us that our voting is not as secure as it should be.
Yeah, and we look at on the national level, and this is something that we could probably work on as well. We didn't mention it in the last segment, but with election integrity being at the forefront since 2020, Florida does a really good job.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Florida is sort of the standard when it comes to how you conduct elections.
I think Florida's the standard in a lot.
I tell you.
DeSantis kind of does a good
Governor
job.
Ron DeSantis is one of the best governors in the country. It was unfortunate in the campaign. He wasn't the best campaigner, right? He's probably just more one of a doer.
He's one of the smartest guys, but he's not charismatic like many of them.
I mean, Trump, natural salesman.
Yeah.
Right? Where it might come as, third and fourth down the line. That's important for Ronnie D, baby. Ronnie D is a guy that gets shit done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where, not saying that Trump can't or Trump doesn't, but that is where Ron DeSantis excels.
Yeah.
Enough about that. So,
Football.
Congratulations
to the Gamecocks.
Everett Stubbs.
Yeah, Senator Everett Stubbs. But I thought we were transitioning to
Yep,
football.
we are. Let's get to the Gamecocks.
The Gamecocks.
The bright
ripped
spot
it up.
of last weekend.
Yeah.
The most complete game the Gamecocks have had all season. We've been close with LSU and Alabama, but really was at that game. Took the family. 10th ranked A&M came to town. It was a night game, so the place was lit.
Yeah.
I mean, just on fire. And
I'll be buying season tickets next year because I have missed being able to go to some of the games.
yeah, and again, Sellers did a great job protecting the football, no turnovers. Did what we needed to do on offense and let that defense go to work for 4 quarters.
You got smoke going on in front of your camera.
yeah.
I wasn't even paying
It's
attention to that.
It's fine. Yeah, right.
Let me put this out.
But yeah, so it was a good ball game. I think we got up quick. A&M tied it up right before half, 20-20. What I didn't realize is the final score being 44-20. Our defense didn't allow a single second half point.
Yeah. I mean, your defensive front is for real.
Yes.
They're for real.
Yes.
As they say.
And
The offense is coming together.
yeah.
So, and as I thought Clemson was, showing what they were made of.
They are against
Boy-
high school teams. I'm telling you. They are really, really good against teams like Wake Forest. But, hey, they had Louisville at night.
Yeah. But in Clemson, that's the
In
worst
Clemson.
Clemson home loss since Dabo's been there.
Well, I'm just saying, there's no
Yeah.
excuses. No excuses.
And
Clemson.
they started playing well in the second half, but the defense was just so worn down.
Well,
I mean, the defense was
I
on the field
saw
too
a bunch
long.
of Louisville fans posting. It looked like,
Cade was just off.
yeah, and it looked like they didn't really get it together until too late, right
Yeah.
in the fourth quarter.
Looked like a Panthers game.
Man, it looked like a lot of fans just started leaving
Yeah.
at the end of the
I
third
think they
quarter.
might have tailgated with the fans before the game. Maybe that was the
But-
maybe Cade tried to enact some of that Johnny Manziel magic.
Yeah, right.
It didn't work out so
well.
well.
Looking ahead to tomorrow, with the Gamecocks, we're now 5-3, 6-3, and we go on the road this week and get to play Vanderbilt, which used to be an easy. Just go ahead and chalk up the W.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Not in today's SEC.
I mean, I think Duke does have a better record than Vandy.
Who does?
No, Duke's got 2 losses, don't they?
Yeah, who cares? It's Duke, and it's not basketball season. But, hey, we get Vandy at 4:15. Y'all go to Blacksburg. Now, again, they're unranked, but you've got, a decent squad
We've got
in
that
Virginia
Metallica
Tech. That's right.
entrance.
That's right. So, I think y'all are
Virginia
giving-
Tech started off bad and has gotten better each week.
Yeah, so I think Vandy is ranked like 24th, 25th. So, and I think we're around 27th. So, if we're fortunate and prepare right and play our game and we get the win, I see us entering that top 25. You guys,
I thought y'all were top 25.
we're right outside, which is fine. I don't like eating that rat poison, as Nick Saban says. Keep disrespecting them. Don't give them the credit they deserve.
Yeah.
Let them come in with a
I
chip
think the
on their shoulder.
Gamecocks are definitely, I wouldn't even say a top 25. I'd say a top 15 team with the way that they've been playing.
Well,
Now, the question is, will they get a chance to play at all for the SEC championship?
Nah.
Do they even have a chance
No,
for the playoffs?
No, we do not. Mathematically, it does not work. We've lost to 3 SEC schools with LSU,
Oh, yeah.
Bama, and Ole Miss,
That's true.
and we can't overcome that. So,
Now you
but
can
you
just look
guys-
forward to Clemson.
but you guys are ranked
But
number
it's,
23 right
we
now.
have to wait on SMU to fall, though.
Yeah, that's right. With y'all losing to Louisville, it puts Miami and SMU in the driver's
Yep.
seats. But, man, there's a lot of football left. I mean, y'all have Virginia Tech this week. You got to play Pitt. I think y'all have
Do we play Pitt? We got Citadel.
Citadel, and then we come to town in
Okay.
the last game. So y'all got some opportunity, and so does SMU and Miami to lose. Again, I don't think Miami's that good. When I say that good, I mean 4th ranked good.
Yeah.
They don't have an offense. I mean, excuse me,
A
they don't have a
defense.
defense. And I just can't see someone not being able to, well, never mind, they play in the ACC. Yeah, I mean, Miami's remaining schedule, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, Syracuse. God, that's laughable, man.
So they'll be in the ACC
They're in the
championship. What about
ACC.
SMU?
They are in the ACC title game. There's no way.
Because didn't SMU lose to Pitt?
SMU should have lost to Duke when they had those 6 turnovers a few weeks ago.
No, they beat Pitt 48-25.
They thumped Pitt. And,
Yep.
and that's what tells me they're not
They
that
beat
good.
Duke last week in overtime.
Yes.
But they've got Boston College, Virginia, and Cal. And Virginia's the only away game.
And Cal beat Auburn, I think, this year. So, hey, maybe the Golden Bears might help you out.
Is Auburn? How many wins does Auburn have?
I don't know, 4. But yeah, I tell you, this playoff is going to make it interesting this year.
And I don't think Clemson has. No, Clemson has Pitt next week. So
Yes.
we've got Virginia Tech,
Pitt,
Citadel, then South Carolina.
right. So
Now Pitt's ranked, so that could.
but y'all
help
can't
us
lose
out.
another game. If you have hopes of making the
Oh, no,
playoff,
no.
you've
I
got to
don't-
win out, right? You got to win out.
And we've got to have SMU fall
Yes.
to be able to play in the ACC championship.
Yes, correct. Because I think you could catch Miami. It'd be
Yeah.
a great. That'd be the best.
Unless Miami stumbles. Now, I mean, Miami about fell to Cal.
That'd be the best ACC playoff is Clemson Miami.
Yeah.
As far as attendance and everything else, I think.
I don't know
that'd
if
be
I
the
want to
best
put our
ballgame.
defense up against Miami, though.
Oh,
Our defense was so worn out against Louisville. I can't imagine them
yeah,
playing.
but that Hurricane defense ain't what it was back in 2000, 2001.
I know, but our defense ain't the same as it was
Yeah.
5 years ago either.
Some other notable games is Georgia at Oxford, Mississippi, going up against the Rebels. That should be a good one. That's a 3:30 kickoff. There's another SEC game, I believe. Who does Bama have this week? I want to say, Bama LSU.
The
That's
losing
night
team.
game. So that's another one to watch. But
You need Bama to beat LSU, right?
uh,
That would move Gamecocks up further.
yeah, but like I said, we ain't got
Yeah.
it. We just
You
need
got
to
Florida and Texas.
we need to win Saturday.
Yeah.
Let's just get Vandy and see what we can do. But well, that'll do it for this show. Again, thanks for Comer
Indiana,
Distributing.
Michigan. So we'll see if Indiana. I mean,
It's for real.
We can sit here and talk about ACC all we want, but come on now. I mean, Indiana.
What are you saying, the Big Ten?
I mean, who have they played?
Oh,
That becomes
Indiana
the
does
thing.
have a sweet schedule.
Yeah.
But again, thanks for Comer Distributing.
Yes. And the all-day IPA Founders.
Yeah. Again, you're becoming you're stepping further and further away from your girlfriend and Bud Light. All right.
It is good. Foundersbrewing.com.
Thanks for the 2 listeners. We'll see y'all next week.
Bye-bye.
On your own, let's go deliver to your knock knock. Open up the